Hello, I'm Sufei. Nowadays, everybody is online. It's difficult to be in a site, so we meet and talk online. And I think it's a good try to talk a little bit online. Yesterday or a couple of days ago, I talked in Chinese. Some people said I should put some subtitles in English. Since people like to know in English, I think it's better I just talk directly in English. My name is Xue Chen Aksa Song. Actually, I'm coming from China, and I came to Sweden since 2000. I've been in Sweden since 2006, so I have been in Sweden for now 14 years. I love Sweden. I like Sweden. It's like my second home. Actually, my major is English, and that's why sometimes I feel a little bit ashamed that I didn't speak very good Swedish or svenska. Min svenska är sådär. Jag tycker att min engelska är fortfarande bättre. För att sedan jag var 13 år, så det är 30 år redan. Och svenska bara 10 år. 14 år. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, my English is better, I think. I feel like my thinking sometimes in the English way than the Swedish way, or than the Chinese way. Yes, but I'm more influenced by the English literature, English language. So I feel like I'm more or less more confident in talking in English. Okay, back to the main theme. I think I just want to talk something about right now still this COVID-19. This morning at 11 o'clock, I attended a press conference by the health minister, Magdalena, and also the trade minister. Lena Hallengren, Minister for Health and Social Affairs, Lena Hallengren, and also the Minister for Foreign Trade and Nordic Affairs, Anna Hallberg. Anna Hallberg, the trade minister, foreign trade minister, and also Lena Hallengren, the health and social affairs minister, two strong women in Sweden. I think the best in Sweden is that you have such an awareness of the equality, gender equality between men and women. So you have equal number of female ministers and male ministers in the cabinet. So we can see recently the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ann Lind, is a woman. And now the social affairs and health and trade minister, also women, strong figures. Harlan Green briefed us, the international journalist, about the Swedish situation in COVID-19 infection. So far, you have more than 5,000 people die, but mostly died earlier in February, April, or May, when the COVID-19 just brought into Sweden through a large number of the tourists, not tourists, but the Swedish people who have traveled abroad in many other countries, which actually all already have this COVID-19. So from this information, actually, we can trace back a lot of information, actually. Number one is about this earlier, the US President Trump said, it's a China virus, China virus or China COVID-19. But you can see that actually in January, in many countries in the world, already have this virus. So it's only that when China concentrated in Wuhan and China paid such great attention to this pandemic and as what President Xi Jinping said, is we launch a people's war against this virus. So the focus all in China, it looks like, this really is a China's thing, or only the Chinese get the virus. But the truth is actually in Italy, Spain, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, many countries actually, they likely have already this virus. Otherwise, how do you explain, in Sweden, we have more than 5,000 people died, and more than half of them are the elderly people from the elderly home. So, of course, from the beginning, you said that the key people or new core group is those who are above 70. So it looks like you already set a label for these people who are above 70. And most of them in the elderly home, actually, especially those 80 years old, they are either dementia or they are many other diseases. I have visited Swedish elderly home many times, and I know that I learned that Swedish actually, in fact, you take a very good care of the elderly people, especially, for example, 80 years old. Then they go to the elderly home, but they are almost like the whole day care, 24 hours care. So they live there, but these people, a lot of them have the dementia disease. So once the virus came, like the minister said, Sweden, and in February, the late February is from like a February 24th or 26th to the end, to March 1st. That whole week, there are about 1 million Swedish traveling, having the sport love or the spring holidays. So from the beginning, I also explained like that. I said, I write in my stories or analysis in the Chinese version to the Chinese audience is that, yeah, Sweden, two characteristics. One is very internationalized. It's very well connected with the outside world. So Swedish travel a lot. They have more international connection. And two, Sweden is mostly is a large country in Nordic and even in Europe in terms of the per capita area, because it's only have 10 million people population, but you have 1 million travel abroad. So every 10 person, you have one person was traveling abroad or to other areas during that week. A lot of these COVID-19 happened in the north skiing areas too, right? And a lot of them go to Italy's skiing areas. So it looks like this COVID-19 spreads very quickly and easily in all these skiing resort, because the temperature is just around 0 or 0 to 4 or between 0 and 12. And so this cold temperature is very suitable for this COVID-19 virus to stay. And also, so number one, you have a big source. Swedish been to Iran, to Iraq, to Iran, to Italy, to Spain, and to Germany, to Austria. So all these countries, and France also. Yes, and then you have the policy that okay, there is a ban to visit older people. People should not go to visit the elderly. This ban, on the one hand, yes, you want to end this source of infection or virus. But on the other hand, last night in the Actual in SVT, we can see that a senior lady pointed out that actually the loneliness, this mental challenge is also a big issue. For half a year or for months, the elderly people don't see their relatives, children or grandchildren. That is a big mental torture also. That's not very, very nice. Of course, for life, for that moment, we understand that we should all isolate it. And we try to, in China's way, or saying is, we want to smother this virus. We isolate, and we isolate the virus, but then it means we people have to isolate from each other. In China, the lessons was there, and there was a lot of report which reflected now in Sweden too, I think. For example, we must isolate. So even for the lovers, they say, oh, please, let's not see each other now. Okay, so for a short time or a certain period of time to save life, we have to tolerate this loneliness. And And of course, many people think that it is impossible to do the same as in China. And in that sense, we can say China has really done an exceptional job. They did. But they are very clear from beginning that they want to isolate this virus. And they test very thoroughly exactly what's happening. So step by step. Then I want to go back to yesterday's DN's report about this so-called fail or false positive. Couple of weeks ago, actually, we already verified that, it is not the Chinese test device problem. The test device is very sensitive, and is if you have a small amount of virus, it will test it. It can find it very, very sensitively. But on the other hand, with this analysis instrument, you can set a limitation or set a standard, say how much virus you want to say is positive, how much you say is negative. So here we need to ask the experts maybe more detailedly, but my understanding is through their explanation is if you are too little virus, then they say, okay, you didn't get infected. But on the other hand, you are infected. And for example, yesterday this report said, it's called Stephen. He said, I feel like I have the throat pain at the beginning and also the red eye. So this is, of course, it can be a cold or it can be the symptom of this COVID-19. The symptom of COVID-19 typically is you cough, you have sore throat, you have pain in the throat, and also you have a fever. You have a fever, 37. In China, they said 37.4 degree or 37.2. You should already be on alert. So that's why everywhere when you go out or go in to a residential area, you have the volunteers to check you. So if your temperature is a little bit over 37.5, then you will be the suspect for the infected patient. And in China, it was like even you have a light symptom, you are able to go to the hospital or the temporary hospital to be treated. And that is why the Chinese death is so low. For 1.4 billion people, only have about less than 4,000 people died. We don't want to make comparison, but we have to say that China has done an excellent job because they utilize the Chinese medicine and Chinese medical methods. Acupuncture is not much used, but the Chinese herbs is widely used. Chinese herbs. And by doing this, they prevent those light symptom person or patients prevent them from becoming the severe patients. So once you have one or two severe ones, you are transferred immediately, go to the ICU or in intensive care. But mostly they just prevent it and get recovered from the light symptom zones. Of course, it's a lot of economic damage for the first few months. But you see, now China has recovered and the big business gatherings began now. So, but Chinese are still, they are taking the masks. So this is a big difference. This morning, talking about this Swedish method of the dealing with COVID-19, I think the health minister has an honest or down-to-earth attitude. She said it was a tragedy that many older people died. But later she also explained that indeed, from the beginning, at the beginning, about 1 million people travel around and then bring back this virus. So you really don't know who get it, who didn't get it, and how do we do that? Should we test everybody or should we not? Also, maybe with limited resources and so on, it was not so easy to do precisely right. And consider the senior age and health situation of the elderly people. Yeah, but the good thing is they take care later and give more protection in the elderly care. My question to her was to ask why, how these people died. I think that is a question we need to answer, because if we know how they die, then we know what was the problem, right? So from what I heard through all the press conferences and the reports, it's like at the beginning, because the elderly care belonged to the municipality, so it was not prioritized as the national priority. And of course, this is a division of the labor or division of the rights or responsibility. At the municipality level, did every elderly home have enough these protective devices and clothes, masks, gloves, and so on? Do they have that? I saw recently they complain about the masks, and I can see that it's just one day, once for single-use mask in the elderly home. In fact, from what I know is, if you are dealing with these patients, if they are really infected by the COVID-19, this single-use mask is not enough. It should be the N95 or KN95. This was also an issue, at the very beginning, why the overseas Chinese helping China to buy these N95. Because China realized that to deal with this kind of virus, you must have N95 or KN95. KN95 means is China 95. So it is a matter of this mask quality, indeed. And only the N95 that is good for the nurses or doctors to deal with the patients. And when dealing with patients, it's not just the mask. You need protective thing. In Sweden, they imported from Germany with this plastic curtain. When you have that, you feel like a king. But yeah, that is the virus protection. In China, they totally covered. The whole face was covered. The head was covered. Only the eyes was open. So you must have this glass also, and you have the gloves, and the whole clothes was very tight and heavy, and that was the practice in China, and that is also why a lot of nurses also suffering from this. For example, the women have the period. How do they change the pad? Or when you take on the clothes, it takes about many hours to really coming out. So usually at least 4 hours. And then you come out to take it off. So China was extremely careful about this. And you take off the clothes and then you just, throw it or something. And then you have to have the, next time you must also fully equipped. Yeah. I see that in the West, you do that too, but I feel there are still some rift opening actually. So in a way, it's not very good for the nurses or doctors. They are vulnerable to be infected. So Sweden now changed the policy. They want to lift the ban of visiting the elderly home. So by October 1st, people can go to the elderly home and visit their relatives. Of course, then you still need to have the social distancing, or maybe avoiding hugging each other, or should you take a mask, whatever. One thing also interesting that in Sweden, they never emphasize the mask. And they don't emphasize mask, the importance of mask. They just recently said that in special occasions you can take mask, but you don't know that this mask is very important. If you go to the very crowded area or in a public area, it's best to take the mask. And this experience has been proved by many countries, not only China. In Japan, in South Korea, Italy, Spain, they all take the mask. Of course, Sweden want to avoid being scared or have a kind of how can I say, the fear. But you cannot pretend to be that this virus is not existing. You see, this is a very serious virus on the one hand. And then on the other hand, according to the Chinese doctor, that it's not how could I say? You should not be so scared. Also, okay, no, should not be so scared. So this COVID-19, it is really discriminate those who are weak. So if you are healthy and strong enough and careful enough, wash your hand and keep social distancing and don't have this direct contact, then no problem. But also, this Eastern Jutland, the survey also showed, the study also showed this morning, the Minister Lena said that this COVID-19 actually only cause 15% direct death. 75% actually has other diseases. So we say, in Chinese, we say 并发症, or it means you have several other diseases, such as diabetes, all the chronological problems, like a cardiological problem, heart attack, heart disease, or you have high blood pressure. In early report in Italy, all those who overweight, smoking, high blood pressure, male. So this is all factors that cause death. So that means if you are strong, you are more careful, you drink water, wash the hands, and you avoid the source of the virus, then you can avoid it. So that is why we many times just emphasize that it's better not get infected. And then the way to avoid that is to take a mask, to stay at home. But if you have to go out to do something, you can, but keep the distancing. So I would say Sweden actually almost like create this word social distancing, and I think that is very good. My feeling is in Sweden people naturally not so close to each other. They also usually have a social distance like a meter or 2 meters, but for close people, of course, they want to hug, they want to kiss, they want to be very close to each other. But unfortunately, this COVID-19 just prevent us from doing this. So people invent this touching each other with the elbow, or just with a gesture. I usually think I just talk with people just with a smile, maybe. So we don't need to shake hands, because this is a special situation. This is 2020. So think of 1908 or 1910. At that time, the big virus spread all over the world. And that time, it's later or earlier, it happened in northeast China, in Harbin, also Heilongjiang province. That is the most northern part of China, which near Siberia, also almost like north of Sweden. And it happened in January, actually. So it's snowing was very, very serious. People just die very quickly. So it was that time there was a overseas Chinese. Actually, he's from Indonesia or Malaysia. He was appointed as the health leader, and he went to Harbin, and he found that this spread through this coughing or talking or spit or this kind of thing. So he invented this mask. At least he ordered everybody, all the households, they should take mask. And all the people really take mask. And his German colleague who worked together with him didn't agree. And just 2 days later, or a few days later, he died. But later, China at that time take two important methods. That was one is to take the mask, close the door, and the other is those who died of this disease burn their body. And this happened in Wuhan also. Those who died immediately go to the crematory. Yeah, they go cremation. To stop this spread of the virus. Yeah, so then there was a journalist asked a question about, it's a French journalist asked, make a comparison between Sweden and France. So many other countries get closed down the border, closed down the school, closed down all the public areas. And in contrary, Sweden didn't do that. So does it mean that Sweden was right from the beginning? This question was very interesting, actually. If you say Sweden was right, then how do you explain that 5,000 people died? The number is quite high compared with this small population. So I think the minister answered quite well, because she didn't want to say it is right or wrong or make such a comparison. So each country do the best. Each country did their best according to their own situation. And I think that is the right way. Sweden, the reason they decide like this, it's because two worries. One is the children. Nobody take care of the children. Because here, it's not like, for example, in China, you have the grandma, grandpa take care of the children. But also because the timing there was just a Spring Festival. So China have a national holiday for about 2 weeks. So that was a good timing for China. So then all the people just stay at home. So they don't have the children problem. But later, of course, when they extend the time, there was a problem. But the whole nation take this loss. And China also, like, grandparents, parents, they all can take care of the children. While here, usually it is the parents themselves take care of the children. And if there is no school, then it is the children's parents who are the nurses, doctors. So then maybe they worry that half of the hospital will be paralyzed. So this is a good concern. Again, it's not the same as in China, because in China, it only happened in Hubei province. So China was so big as Europe. So all the other provinces send doctors and nurses to Wuhan, to Hubei, and support them. So we have thousands of doctors and nurses from every province. For example, in my home province, in Liaoning province, you have Jinzhou City, Dalian City, Shenyang City. You have 3 cities. Each city sent, 1,000 or 1,500 doctors and nurses. And so they have this capacity to deal with this. So that's the Chinese situation, and that's in a kind of favorable way. And then you can say also in China, with an administrative way, they can mobilize this nurses and doctors from different areas within this health sector or within the national scale. But in Sweden, it seems that they don't want to have such a big change with such a sudden short time. It's hard to imagine that you should send the doctors or nurses from other places to Stockholm immediately. I didn't see that, and I don't see any sign of such a thinking. No, there is not such a thinking. They just think, okay, this is a very serious cold, so we try to tolerate, we try to be careful, and by just social distancing, washing hands, and be aware, and then make it lower. But they never, from beginning, they didn't think that I should wipe out that immediately. They feel like it should be, it cannot be wiped out immediately. So it's better we have a small scale, try to minimize the influence or impact. In a way, children go to school. Yeah, it is a good thing that they didn't delay much study, and also their parents can go to work. But it is not without any consequence, because at the beginning, I think many people also have kind of, for example, myself, I just gained weight about 6 kilo or 7 kilo in March because of kind of a serious psychological burden and worry, and also very little exercise. So at that moment, these kind of worries or fear, I think that still exist. And this exists is also because the sharp contrast that when China was paying such a heavy attention, such a big attention to this disease, while here you seems not paying that much attention. So that make us also a big, such a big confusion, I think, psychologically. Of course, yes, in the long run, we can see that Anders Tegnell actually has thought a lot about this. And this strategy, you say, is right or wrong, we can only use time to test. But as time goes by, we feel that if we have a reasonable freedom, it is good, actually. So we should be, how can I say, should not think that maybe we should really tightly close down. Because if you really close down, then the shops supposedly closed, then people will worry about food. If you close down the hospital, then people also, if they have other disease, then you cannot take care. So these are things we should worry about. Also, another very important situation or different situation is in Sweden. It's springtime, autumn, you'll have such a depressed season, rainy season, cold air, and cool. So people feel like depressed. And this depression can cause violence or, sometimes even suicide. I have a question, actually, but it was not asked and not answered yet. But I like to propose this question. For example, how many people commit suicide during this period? Did this COVID-19 cause the people to be mentally challenged and have the depression, or is it normal? Is this case number higher than the other years? Sweden or New Zealand are well known for the sort of male suicide number, but we didn't talk much about it. Of course, it's such a heavy topic, but we do think that this COVID-19, it doesn't directly cause you to die. Like my daughter said something which made me greatly relieved. At the beginning, I worried that she will get infected in school, so I didn't allow her to go to school for a week. I talked to the teacher. I said, "Okay, we are senior ourselves, are older, so we don't want to get infected, so we keep our daughter home." But after a week, she just she didn't want to stay at home. She just said, I don't want to be like behind, and I feel I cannot study at home at all. So I want to go to school and to study together with my comrades, with my classmates. And I gave her a mask, and I said, okay, keep social distancing, wash your hand, and if necessary, put on your mask. You must be responsible for yourself and for your papa and mama. And she went, and but then when she came back, she said, "Mama, you should not be worried because you are not in the key group. You are just 53. Even you get it, you will not die." Hearing this, I felt quite immediately. I felt I became strong. I must be stronger because if really we get it, what can we do? We feel really hopeless, helpless. So the only way to survive is to be healthy and to be careful. So, to be honest, talking a little bit about myself personally, really in March, for the whole month, I was thinking to get rid of my gallbladder stain, and so I drink a lot of drinks and didn't exercise much. So I get very fat, 73 kilos, and other problems came. So I was very worried, and then I look at the doctor. I went to the hospital twice, and I think Swedish doctor was very good, and nurses are also very good, especially my doctor Alexander. Actually, later he himself get COVID-19, but he told me that say it's better you train yourself. If you train, then all the numbers will go down and it will be better. And I have to say that I really feel grateful for him and for my former doctor, Chastin, also. So I really feel glad with these doctors who are very, very committed and very rational and accurate. So then I begin to walk. So every day, with a good summer, I went to Kalbei Park and just walk like 10,000 steps or 10 kilometers. By doing this every day, actually it's easy to see the result. And so by now I have get rid of all these 6 kilos. And of course, then you feel a little bit better. And I feel also so moved by the Swedish people. So when I first went out, I was afraid, and I was also felt, oh, the Swedish people, they are not afraid of death. They are not afraid of this virus. They just want to challenge or venture. Isn't it stupid? Is it foolish? Doom to just challenge the virus. In Chinese, we have a saying that a person, if you bare shoulder to go to the battlefield, you get an arrow shot on you, then it's your fault. But on the other hand, I think I don't blame these people because later I found that I was inspired by them. When I walk in Kalbei Park and I see the couple walk happily, or the older person, they just try all means, do their best to run, to get healthy. And that is what Carlson said, Johan Carlson, the folk, the People's Health Authorities leader. He said, yeah, in Sweden, we encourage people to go out to have a walk and to exercise. And I think this is also a very positive aspect. Swedish like to run and they like to walk in the forest. And you have such a good environment that blue sky, beautiful water, clean water, green water, and lot of sunshine. So at that kind of environment, people are easy to just go out to under the sun, and that is the only hope, maybe. So I remember that I also write small diaries, like I say that Swedish people care the sun more than the COVID-19. Yes, we love the sun, and when there is sunshine, we all want to go out and to be under the sun. And with the sun, you feel that you are secure, you are stronger, you are happier, and you are not afraid. And that is very rational. That is also, like Professor Tony Fang said, it is like a necessity for the Swedish or for the Nordic people. It's a necessity to have more sun, because the weather, like now, without the sun, cloudy, it's a deadly feeling. It's just a horrible feeling that you feel your energy was deprived by this cloud or dampness or the dark. And I have to commend that Swedish leaders actually take a lot of measures to take care of this. And they know that, so that's why in mid-November, for example, already put all the lamp in the lights in the streets so that the city become a little bit brighter. I know that London did very well. Actually, London was, but it's almost a little luxury. They just put a lot of lights in the street. So when you're in the airplane, you can look at the street. Was it's like a light road, very clear, like a palace, magnificent. Yeah. But yeah, that is the geography, and that is the situation. So we say that different situation will have different characters and different people. So in generally speaking, I think Sweden take a measure according to its own situation, and they are trying to be pragmatic also. But I think in a way they are a little bit stubborn or persistent. But this is also good and bad. They consistently to persuade people to keep social distancing, wash your hands, and they do very well with this promotion everywhere. You know, you in the street you see these posters, in the bus you see the posters, and they teach you to wash hands. And a lot of places they have the alcohol free. Every company you should provide free alcohol, schools and shops and restaurants. You should take measures to protect your workers yourself. If you are not up to that standard, you will be closed. You should not keep on opening if you didn't do the preventive action. So we can say that Sweden was too bold at the beginning, but gradually they are very rational and they keep on spreading this message and encourage people to take right measures to take care of themselves. In a way, this kind of freedom is also very, very valuable for many people, because in the long run, really people get other health problem. Do they really get home violence, harassment? Like yesterday, Minister Lind said these reproductive or sexual rights, you know, do we have sexual harassment, or do children have a false sex, or are they get any violence? This is a worry in this country and maybe in many other countries. In China, of course, we have a lot of very positive promotion. For example, we say that you know, the gamblers don't gamble, and the couple used to be separated for a long time, but during the COVID-19, then the couple have the chance and time to stay together, and they don't work so hard as before. So they actually have a time to rest. And then, of course, the Chinese people are very good at exercising. So at home, they exercise very well. And then in Sweden, we see different news also. The positive news is like this COVID-19 means God or decreased the climate impact, and decreased the violence in the street, and also the robberies. Like last year, there were tourists got a lot of robberies. People break into their Chinese Chinese people's house, and this kind of case reduced. But on the other hand, the divorce rate increased. So by 630 cases more than the same period last year. So yeah, it's very interesting to see different aspects. Definitely, the economy was affected, but I would say this is really an issue of life and death. So we have to be very, very careful and take proper action, and take your own responsibility for yourself, for your family, and for this society. So if you can go out, if you meet more people in a public area, take a mask and wash your hand. And if unnecessary, don't have a big gathering. Yeah, okay, so that's all for today, and see you next time. If you have any comments, you can just leave your comments.